we're gonna start off and dial back to gaming, because Rev put out a video about our favorite game stealers, Ubisoft. Because apparently, Ubisoft isn't content with just locking out people out of their game unless you give them more money and extorting them. Apparently, they also like removing features from a game when they port it over to PC. So, let us hear just how deep Ubisoft is digging their own graves. And K-Dog, have a wonderful weekend.
Hey, what's up guys, Rev here. So today we're going to be once again kicking it old school and using a PNG instead of the VTuber model because I'm in my final day of travels and my potato laptop gets about 3 FPS and can't handle the VTuber model, which will be returning tomorrow. But for today, let's jump into the related topics, which is going to be once again Ubisoft. We all know that Ubisoft has been having a
Ubisoft, Ubihard, they can't satisfy a woman either way.
Nightmarish 2024 where they've had nearly double-digit AAA titles flop, but the biggest flops among them are their big-budget projects like Skull and Bones with reportedly a near billion-dollar budget just to end up with Concord-like numbers. The other big flop...
Wait. That's something I didn't know. Let me hear that again.
Budget projects flop, but the biggest flops among them are their big-budget projects like Skull and Bones with reportedly a near billion-dollar budget.
I did not know that Skull and Bones was a nearly billion-dollar project. I was unaware it was that much. Holy $1 billion for that shitstorm. That was an Assassin's Creed Black Flag wannabe without any of the Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Fucking hell. Oh, I know they did. And that was the whole thing. That was what everybody was saying, is that how could you fuck this up so badly? You had the blueprint with Black Flag. You could have literally taken the engine and the assets from Black Flag and turned that into its own standalone pirate game, and people would have fucking loved it. And instead, they came out with whatever the fuck Black Flag was supposed to be. Because they didn't want to make it in the end. Ubisoft did not want to make Black Flag, Skull and Bones. They had to because of a contract with, what was it, with Hong Kong, I think? They had a contract with the government of Hong Kong for it, and so they had no choice but to make it.
Just to end up with Concord-like numbers. The other big flop was, of course, Assassin's Creed Shadows, which hasn't released yet, but has been mocked and ridiculed and delayed into 2025, despite being promised to investors as a big part of their 2024 financial lineup. And then, of course...
I wonder what went through their minds. Has any game made $1 billion in revenue?
I'd say Black Myth Wukong might have. Considering it, didn't Black Myth Wukong sell, like, 2 billion units? I'm reasonably sure it sold that many. I mean, it had 2 billion players, so that means it had to have sold 2 billion units. I can't recall what Baldur's Gate 3's numbers were at launch. Possibly, I know it was huge. So, yeah, I'd say a game has made $1 billion. Yes.
Of course, the other big flop is Star Wars Outlaws, which was a much anticipated release that did not perform very well. In fact, it only sold just about 1 million copies after the first month of release.
Fuck. I hadn't heard about this. 1 million copies, and that's it. That is not good for a Star Wars game. Holy sh... They sold the game to one... What? Huh? Who said... Wait. What are you talking about, Gore? Are you talking about, Black Myth Wukong? I was speculating. I was speculating, Gorthor, because the Black Myth Wukong had had 2 billion, I think it was a 2, wait. No, sorry. No, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. I'm screwing my numbers up, I think. I don't think Black Myth Wukong had a player base of 2 billion. I think it had a player base of 2 million. I think I'm sorry, I think I got my numbers all screwed up. My apologies. I got the numbers got mixed up in my head. I think I think what I'm thinking of was Black Myth Wukong had 2 million players, like 2.5 million players, not billion. Sorry, my bad.
Which for many games would be a success, but for this title with probably hundreds of millions of dollars invested into it was a major disappointment. According to many sources who are knowledgeable on this sort of stuff, typically with a budget like that, you need at least 4 or 5, maybe even 6 or 7 million copies sold just to break even. So this was a unmitigated disaster for Ubisoft. Yep. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. Recently, there's been some good news for Ubisoft and Star Wars Outlaws.
Okay.
They have been nominated for an award at the Game Awards of 20...
Wait, what? This got nominated for Best Action? What? You're telling me out of all the games that have come out in 2024, Star Wars Outlaws was the top 5 action games. Really? Really? Well, I'm thinking Black Myth Wukong, which Star Wars should also be in this category. I'm guessing Black Myth Wukong got put into like an RPG category in addition to Game of the Year. In addition to that. But in a subcategory, I'd say they probably classified it as an RPG. But realistically speaking, Outlaws should be too. And I'm sorry, Silent Hill 2 is an action game? Really? Silent Hill 2 classifies as an action game. Last I checked, Silent Hill is an RPG horror. Like, what is with these nomination choices? None of this makes sense. Prince of Persia, okay, I could maybe buy that. Zelda? Is this the one where... Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. I don't know what that one is. Is that the one where you actually play Zelda? Infinity? Who knows? It's entirely possible they may not. For all I know, they may not have a horror category. Okay, so this is that children's Legends of Zelda game, because I saw the trailer for that, and it's a children's game. And that's not an action game either. It's a puzzle. It's a puzzle game. Like, Astrobot is probably the only one on this list that is an actual action game. Maybe Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Action adventure. AV is adventure. I don't know. I don't know. Like, maybe one or two of these might fit into action adventure? Zelda, from the looks of it, was a puzzle platformer. But there's gotta be other games out there that were action adventure that was better than Star Wars Outlaws in 2024. There's gotta be. I'm trying, Xanax. Maybe I'll have to super glue it. Oh, I know, Falcon.
We talked about the Game Awards recently, and yeah, it turns out that Star Wars Outlaws has been nominated for Best Action and Adventure Game of 2024. You can see the other titles listed there: Astrobot, Silent Hill 2, Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, and also...
Thank you, Shadow Sparta. Yes! Why wasn't Stellar Blade on this list for Best Action Adventure? If any of the games is action adventure, it's fucking Stellar Blade. Why wasn't that on this list instead of Star Wars Outlaws? And yes, that's exactly right. Because IGN and all the people on the judging panel are scared of big titties. They are scared of the big titty queen that everybody loved. Yep. It has a sexy woman in it, therefore it can't possibly be awarded. Space Marines 2 might have come out after, like, Space Marine 2 might have come out after the cutoff date. I'm not sure what the cutoff date is. But here you go. What about Helldivers? Helldivers came out around the same time as Stellar Blade, did it not? Why isn't Helldivers nominated for Best Action Game over fucking Silent Hill and Star Wars Outlaws and Zelda Echoes of Wisdom? Huh? Like, Space Marine 2, that just came out, so I think it may have fallen past, its release may have fallen past the cutoff date for this. That's why I think Space Marine 2 didn't make it in there. They did, game? But the background stuff should not impact the game itself. The game itself was still enjoyed by millions. So the behind-the-scenes shit with the PlayStation Network account stuff is not the gameplay. The Game Awards is supposed to be on the gameplay. Now, granted, the Game Awards is bullshit. No one believes it exists. No one believes it's, it's fair in any way, shape, or form. But that's what it's supposed to be about.
Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, which is a very interesting one. We haven't really talked about this title. It's another Ubisoft release that is a unmitigated disaster, as you might expect at this point. In fact,
really?
It's been reported...
Fuck me, I guess.
I'm sorry, Space Marine. Your princess is in your princess is in another castle committing heresy. Sorry.
That they sold just around 1 million copies of this game, which arguably had a big budget as well. And on top of that, Ubisoft announced with their own words that this was a disappointment in terms of sales, and they've pretty much disbanded the entire team that was around this game. They canceled any sequels to this game and have moved all the related parties who worked on Prince.
Wait a minute. So Ubisoft bombs are in the nomination for Best Action Adventure Game instead of Stellar Blade, instead of Helldivers, and let's face it, if Star Wars Outlaws is in there, then Black Myth Wukong applies. Yeah, the only category I'm aware for Black Myth Wukong is Game of the Year. That's the only one that I'm aware of. But Ubisoft actually has 2 failed games for Best Action Adventure. The logicking here. You think someone wants to keep their access. Now, why they want to keep it with Ubisoft when it's about to go down the toilet and get sold and probably broken up, I don't know. But clearly someone wants to maintain their access. And Nordic Nerd, thank you for the follow. Welcome.
Prince of Persia, 2 other titles at Ubisoft, so that obviously didn't go very well.
Oh,
let's return to some other
Xanax.
news. So it was reported some time ago, a few months ago, that Star Wars Outlaws was going to be going to Steam. It was going to release on PC on November 21st, which of course yesterday as of recording right now.
Eh.
And that is something that we've seen a lot with Ubisoft and other developers recently, where they are doing very fast Steam releases for PC because it seems like they're trying to bolster their sales. We saw this with Dragon Age the Veilguard, where they released it on Steam simultaneously.
Yeah, bolster their sales is code word for they're desperate. Okay, Kyler, have a wonderful night.
Simultaneously with other platforms, which is unusual for BioWare, for example, who normally waits up to even 6 years as they did with Inquisition. But anyways, we have approached the official release, and as you can see, it is live now on Steam with mostly positive reviews, and you can see you can get it for a cheap, a cool $52 starting off, and you can still get that wonderful Ultimate Edition months after.
If I remember correctly, the last 3 Prince of Persia games have been financial failures. It's a franchise that has run its course. Cheer 100.
Andrew, I'm gonna actually take your word for that. I have not heard about any Prince of Persia games as of late. That I haven't heard about any released, I have not seen any gameplay. You very well could be right about that. It may be time to retire the franchise. At least for, like, retire it for, like, 10 years. So people could forget about it, and then relaunch it. Start over with it. Start the franchise all over again, fresh. And yeah, the Ultimate Edition, which you should never buy, by the way, because it gives you bullshit.
Release for a steal, ladies and gentlemen, 25% off at $97.
Then, if you liked Outlaws, wonderful. I'm glad. I will never disparage anybody for liking a game that is universally considered bad. You know why? Did you have fun? You said you liked it, so you obviously had fun. Was your money well spent because you had fun? I would say yes. Great. I'm glad you were able to enjoy it. The thing that people, and I'm sure you're not the only one. So you're probably not the only one to enjoy the game. I'm sure other people have enjoyed it too. And I know, at least from me, I don't, if someone enjoys a game that is considered bad, I don't have a problem with you enjoying the game. I'm glad you enjoyed the game. Where the problem lies is that, unfortunately, you are the minority of the customer base. And that's not being said in an insulting way at all. It's you are the few. And the core reason for video games at the end of the day is to make money. And creating a video game to be sold to the minority of enjoyers will not make them money. That's where the problem is. And people had a problem with Star Wars Outlaws for a myriad of reasons. Primarily being that the biggest one is the AI was dog shit. So it's like no one, and yes, now chat, I'm addressing you. No one is going to hate you for enjoying a game. If you want to spend your money on the game and you enjoy the game, that's wonderful. That is absolutely wonderful. I am glad you were able to enjoy the game. And what you just said, you enjoyed it, but you're not going to force people to enjoy the same game that you do? Perfect. That is basically what everyone has been saying about every major social issue that has been coming up. Video games, Hollywood, everything. With the quality of it, the injection of any social issues into it, so on and so forth. If you enjoy it, fine, and you are not trying to force it upon other people. That's the way to do it. And when people are not doing that, by saying, I don't like this game, the people that do like the game go, you are an istophobery. You are not. You, game, you are not. And that's the way it should be. If people that enjoyed something hear someone say they didn't enjoy it and they just go, that's unfortunate, I kind of liked it, and left it like that, things would be, there would be such a dramatic social change. It would be incredible. Because a lot of the strife that's happening right now is because everybody has to take extreme sides, and if one doesn't agree with the other, it's fucking war. If everybody would calm the fuck down and stop trying to say, you must agree with me or I'm going to fight you over it, you wouldn't have at least half the problems we are experiencing these days. Exactly, Grumpy. Act like, not even adults, act like rational, compassionate human beings. Because you know what? Even teenagers and young children can act like rational, compassionate human beings.
I stopped buying their game when they said we need to get used to not owning anything. 100 is too much to rent a game. Cheer 100.
And Duran, that's fair. That is fair. We could go on a big old tangent about that, about not being able to own what you buy anymore. I'm sure Thor and Louis Rossman and a whole host of other content creators can talk about that. But that's a whole other issue. This issue is if someone puts out a shit game, they should be surprised when they go under, but they should be rewarded by being categorized as a best action adventure game when there are clearly other titles out there that are deserving of this based on the gameplay itself and the fact that it's sold like gangbusters and people love it. You can play Star Wars Outlaws and enjoy it. That's fine, but you are in the minority of people who did that. And the Game Awards is supposed to be a general consensus of this in a general consensus way by growth of sales and positive feedback combined makes it one of the best action-adventure games of the year. Prince of Persia and Star Wars Outlaws are not.
$49. How could you resist such a deal right there? But what are the numbers looking like? Well, as of recording this video, about 24 hours into the release, the all-time peak is at 1,100 players. Failing to get about two
they went up a
times
whole
the number
700.
of Concord, but again, as always, this is great if you're some random indie company, but for Star Wars Outlaws and Ubisoft.
Infinity, Tencent is currently freeing up capital to buy Ubisoft. Tencent is actually making a run at Ubisoft. There have been multiple reports that they are freeing up capital for its purchase. As soon as Assassin's Creed Shadows releases, I'd say probably within a month at most, we are going to hear that Tencent has bought Ubisoft. And Shy Guy, I don't know either. I don't know if it's a good thing or either, honestly. It's what a Game Awards should be. Problem is, always has been, if they let the general populace speak its mind, the ideologies would shatter like untempered glass on brick, and they can't afford to do that ideology over profits and sketching up with them. Yeah, Adam, we have been saying that. And that's why, once the Video Game Awards releases, we're going to probably hear about abysmal viewership numbers for it. The Video Game Awards is going to probably have absolute dog shit viewership. I can almost guarantee that.
Ubisoft releasing this game on Steam only a few months after its official release. These are very disappointing numbers. Like, there's no way to get around it. It's not good. It's disappointing. and I don't think these numbers will jump much higher. I would anticipate.
Oh, I'm pausing Rev so much. I'm sorry, Rev. But Game Tavern, they were going to. They were planning to. It was called fuck, what
That
was it
not owning
called?
things is a long-term fight. Need to get gamers into office to update outdated laws. Cheer 100.
Yeah, you can go with that, Doran. Good. That'll be a tough fight to get a gamer into a position of power like that, but go for it. Yeah, Game Tavern. There was a game. What was it? Oh fuck, I cannot remember what it was called, but there was a Star Wars game that was being worked on that was going to be taking place like in like the underbelly of Coruscant, where you were a smuggler in it. And it looked like it was sort of like a Red Dead slash Uncharted 1313. Thank you. Yes. Star Wars 1313. They were working on that and they shit canned it. And instead they did Star Wars Outlaws. So I think that like now granted it wasn't a Mandalorian, you were just a smuggler. But that was probably going to be close to like a cross between Red Dead and Uncharted, I think, based on the small bit of test footage that we got to see. I don't think it was about Boba Fett. No, I don't believe so. Maybe Boba Fett would have been involved in some way, but you were just like some smuggler, I think. Yeah, I don't think I'm pretty sure you were not playing a main character in 1313. You were playing a brand new character in Star Wars that had never been present before, and you were just working, you were doing smuggler underground shit in, in the underbelly of Coruscant.
Maybe gets around like 1,500, maybe
Oh yeah, they did,
2,000
Druid.
all-time peak, but at this point, not looking great, and that's not too surprising. Now, the big question is, with all the bugs and the endless compilations of people posting just terrible gameplay
Alex,
and
I don't want
buggy
anything
mechanics
Star
from
Wars
Star
right
Wars
now for a
Outlaws
while.
months
That
ago
needs to
when it was
rest.
released to the traditional platforms, how are things going to be remedied for the PC release? Did they fix anything? Because there is a lot that had to be fixed. Let's look at some of the greatest hits.
Well, here we
So
go.
thanks to Nick Tech and others who basically did the service of playing this game so you didn't have to collect some of the awful mechanics. The
This
biggest
should be good.
failure and the buggiest failure of Star Wars Outlaws was the stealth game.
Ada? I would not accept anything from Star Wars right now, unless they give it to a different developer. The Star Wars license would need to go to a different developer, and Disney would have to keep their ass out of it. And then maybe I'll give any Star Wars a chance. Because who is it? Is it Ubisoft or EA that's working on that Star Wars Eclipse game? I think it's EA. I'm reasonably sure it's EA that's making it, but it's EA. So at this point, few people have any hope for a good Star Wars game in the current climate. Hey, if they gave KOTOR to Larian Studios, that I would trust. That I would. Well, actually, no. No. I'm gonna retract that statement. I'm gonna retract that. I would be cautiously optimistic if they gave it to Larian Studios, because we've seen studios that have put out fucking bangers, and then the next thing that they produced is dog shit. So I would say I would be cautiously optimistic if they gave KOTOR to Larian Studios, because it depends on how much interference they get from the higher-ups.
Gameplay, and that is something we're going to talk about because they have, quote-unquote, fixed that for the PC release. But let's see some examples of what this amazing stealth gameplay looks like.
Oh boy.
If the hotel Wi-Fi can do it.
Oh, poor Rev. Okay. What did that hired gun in Huttese better get paid for this? Okay.
Yeah, as you can see, not
Okay. Dame? I need some context. Why is this... That looks like the stuff that we saw from earlier when it released on consoles. It didn't look any different. How... was this different in some way and I'm just not seeing it? Like, the One Punch thing, that was in the console release too. So this is nothing new. It's nothing new, but I guess the complaint is that they should have fixed that and they didn't. I'm guessing that's the I guess that's it. Yeah. Oh, but yeah, Alex. Exactly. And that's what a lot of people are saying, like, you know, Miss Thang, Miss Girl Power, is able to one-hit knock out fucking stormtroopers in armor. Like, yeah, I know a blaster bolt will punch right through it, no problem, but... Assist? Yeah, I know. Ugh.
not great. It looks terrible, in fact, and Ubisoft, in response to those issues, always promised that they were going to fix the stealth gameplay. Well, it appears that they have, quote-unquote, fixed the stealth gameplay with the PC release.
Wait. We have seen that before. Wait. Scout Trooper knocked in one punch. We've seen that before. Well, yeah, I mean, okay. Knocking out a Scout Trooper with one hit. Return of the Jedi, anyone? Like, Han literally knocked out a Scout Trooper by basically just, like, arm swinging him into a wall. And that took out a Scout Trooper. So, one-hitting a Scout Trooper with blunt force is not so outside the realm, but we're talking about a tiny woman punching him in the helmet.
By just
Hi, Death
outright
God.
removing it. And yeah, even IGN is acknowledging that the stealth requirements have been completely gutted. They pretty much removed the entire functionality of that from the game, just to, instead of fix the issues, they just removed them entirely, which is insane, right? And there's been other issues too on top of that. There was this funny clip too from other people, like Nick Tech, for example, where for a game that focuses a lot on guns, it seems to have a lot of issues moving guns. You can see anytime you encountered a ladder in this game, your gun, it wasn't coming with you.
Oh, we saw that,
see, right?
We saw that, where they had a problem with the weapon assets staying on the model. We saw this. This is nothing new.
It would just be left behind, and that's a terrible glitch. Now, some people have reported that the gun issues, well, they've been fixed, at least with ladders. You can bring your gun with you up and down ladders. What a giant...
Okay. Game Tavern? Game Tavern, I will respond. I will respond. So you said Cal Kestis knocked out 2 AT-AT pilots by slamming their heads in the console. Okay. You're doing devil's advocate. I appreciate that. Allow me to devil's advocate and respond. Cal Kestis took their heads and slammed them into metal and circuitry with force. He didn't punch them with a soft little fisty. There's a difference between a tiny little girl punching one in the head and a trained Jedi grabbing them and basically slamming their faces into a steel glass and electric console. Bit different there.
giant fix for Ubisoft, but as always, you know, if anyone's cheering, and this user right here is not doing it, by the way, but some people are cheering on these fixes, right? They're saying, wow, look at Ubisoft go. They fixed all these issues surrounding Star Wars Outlaws. They
Oh
fixed the
God.
stealth gameplay. They fixed little bugs like this with the guns going up ladders. But why is that happening now, months later on the PC release? Why wasn't this fixed initially in the first couple of months since release? And more importantly, why was it in the game at all? Why was this terrible buggy gameplay allowed to go public in the first place?
I can answer that. Because that's how game developers work these days. Game developers are no longer concerned with releasing a proper functioning game at launch. The mantra in the game industry at large is we'll fix it in post. So yes, they'll have the alpha and they'll have the beta. They'll have their beta tests, but launch day is just basically a live test. They are treating their paying customers as their guinea pigs. Flat out. Most AAA studios these days are just, okay, it's good enough, let's get it out and the customer can test it for us and we'll fix it afterwards. Okay, Game Tavern, I think I can explain this. The problem people had when it came to Kay is they supposedly modeled her, when you put the model of Kay side by side with the actress who did the screen capture for her, she doesn't look anything like the actress, and they made her uglier than the actress that did the screen cap for her. That's the issue people had. Is that like the actress who did the screen cap and and they did the scans of for her model is by far more attractive than the model we ended up with in the game. Right. That is why people had an issue with it. Because when you put them side by side, there is a very big difference between the two, and the model in the game is definitively uglier than the model that the character was supposedly based upon. So that was the issue that people had. And it was just exemplifying the whole uglifying women in games. She couldn't be attractive. They had to make her ugly. That was what the big firestorm about that was in relation to.
That's already a mistake. But then all these months later, they finally get around by basically just gutting half of the issues. And now they want praise, and people are actually unironically defending Star Wars Outlaws and saying that they've done something good here. No, they've done the bare minimum, which is literally fix core components of the game that were completely busted. This whole thing is an absolute joke, but as I said earlier, the numbers for this are just atrocious at the moment. And yeah, there's really nothing else to say about Star Wars Outlaws. I don't anticipate it doing much more than it already is in terms of numbers, but for now, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. As always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah, this is just Ubisoft digging them deeper. The fuck? Chat, we have the badger infestation. Man your stations.